Prime Minister, host, ministers, ambassadors, business community, citizens in general. It is my great privilege to be here, so thanks a lot for this invitation. I have to say that you have in front of you a committed European, a proud European, someone that is convinced on the importance of building our future, which is in our hands, taking into consideration that building it together is brighter, fairer, and it is pretty motivating. It is not that it is simple. Of course, it is not simple, but it is the best thing we can do. It is something that always is connected to our own dreams, our expectations, the possibility to join positive energies so that we can build a better future for our people. So I would like to stress what it has been said in the introductory comments being made up to now. First, yes, I'm fully convinced that the future is in our hands, and nobody can build the future on his or her own capacities. It is a better future if we do it together. This is why when bringing hope, when thinking about how we can build hope, it is much better to think that we belong to a community. We belong to an union. We are not alone. We can do things better if we do them together. So please resist anyone saying that on an individualistic approach you can improve. It's not truth. It's never truth. And then I agree with Leta's comment. Today Sofia is the capital of Europe, the place where we can think together, face the challenges together, discuss the difficulties, the possibilities, the how to do, learning from the experience that others may have brought in the past, or identify in an anticipated manner the challenges ahead of us. So it is my great pleasure to be with you here in Sofia. Such a strategic and historic hub for so many things, for so many values, in this very critical juncture for Europe. Because it is going to be challenging, of course it is going to be challenging, but it is a moment where we identify to what extent relevant players that up to now have been part of our partnerships seem to be challenging the world that we have built together for decades, since the end of the World War II. How the main rules, how the expectations to build a peaceful and prosperous future may be challenged by very traditional means. So it's time to stand up, to step up, to build that future that we want to build together, taking into consideration our own values. And I would say, our values is a very nice mix of an open, modern, and challenging economy with a great respect for freedoms, rights, and liberties, and a great respect for social expectations, for solidarity. So, that may fail in other geographies. There may be geographies that deliver a lot in economic performance in a very quick manner, but they do not respect so much the individual rights, expectations, or freedoms. There may be other places where they can perform very well, but they forget about inclusiveness and solidarity. And we in Europe try to do things that probably are difficult and challenging, but try to stick to these values. Try to build the European dream that has been in the horizon of all our countries for such a long time. So today, my first message is congratulations. Congratulations to you, you have achieved quite a lot. Last week, when we were celebrating at the very same time, first, the fact that Bulgaria is ready to be part of the Euro family. Second, because in the case of Spain and Portugal, we were celebrating that it is 40 years ago that we signed the treaty, the act, to become part of the European communities. And I'm sure that with all that stress, with all those emotions that the challenges may represent in our societies, we can find ways to solve those challenges, to respond to those challenges in a much more positive way. So, yes, we need to decide, do we stand up and defend our values? Or we just give up and allow others to decide on our own? Because very honestly, remember that democracy, freedoms, rights, such a delicate balance between the different elements is a drop in the history. It's a drop in the ocean of history. So it is worth it to stand up, and it is worth it to find the ways forward. And Bulgaria is not a bystander in this history. Bulgaria, it's one of those countries in our eastern frontier in Europe that protect the European idea, that build on democracy, that provide an increasing welfare for its citizens. And remember, the main purpose of the European dream is to ensure high quality of life for Europeans and a peaceful world in the international context. Now you are preparing to join this Eurozone with all the ambitions, and of course I can understand that there may be many question marks, many doubts, but do take seriously the facts, the data, the capacity to anticipate where the risks and difficulties may be, so to come along with the people. The possibility to stress that there are so many good things connected to that, because that provides stability, because that lowers the risk of investment in your country, because that attracts the capacity to modernize your economy, because we Europeans are not alone on our own, because we Europeans pool resources so to facilitate that whenever we identify that there may be things that deserve coming along with the people, we have the capacity to come along with the people. I remember well when the euro came up, the single currency in Europe, aligning our economies, requiring efforts. But when management takes place in the right direction, it pays back. It facilitates the life of the Europeans. That has always been the case for Bulgaria, the successful story of Bulgaria since the joining of the European Union, and how the GDP per capita, the macroeconomic figures, the capacity to improve the infrastructures, the villages, is taking place. Everything is solved? Of course not. Of course not. There are many pending things, and I'm sure that the government is fully committed, but you are not alone. We belong to the same club. I've been Minister for Energy more than 6 years and a half. I had to phase out coal plants. I had to phase out coal mines. And I knew very well that this means being with the people, showing respect to those communities that during generations have been contributing to the creation of wealth, that have been developing solidarity among the different families, that feel the tension, the stress of the not known future. How to create opportunities to remain in these very same areas where they have lived for generations. And nobody can do this alone. Again, nobody can do this alone. It means a deep involvement from the institutions, generosity from everybody, thinking on how we can build our future. Again, how we can build our future, because the future is in our hands. And there may be people that think, yes, green is ideologist. I think that green may be an idea, an ideal, but it is also wisdom. We are more and more. We want to bet on a high quality of life for all, but the resources seem to be more or less the same. So it doesn't make sense to say that we need to choose between prosperity or the planet, between ambition or solidarity. In fact, we can only choose prosperity and ambition if we are realistic and smart when assessing what are the resources that we can count on so to build that prosperity. Otherwise, prosperity does not last. Otherwise, inclusiveness cannot take place. This is why I think that we deserve a serious conversation. And it is very legitimate and very normal that we have lots of question marks, lots of doubts. Because even when we are able to facilitate a common vision, a common landscape, an horizon where we share a brighter future, we need to gain that battle. We need to build the avenues that take into consideration the very short term, the impact in the first steps. It may be not a linear change, but we need to set the pillars to make it possible to accelerate this transformation in a positive way without forgetting that there may be many people, many business communities, many local realities that deserve our attention. So if we do not embrace the social dimension of this enormous change, it is very difficult that it succeeds. But the good thing is that we Europeans know that these things go hand in hand. When we bet on people, when we take into consideration the physics dimension, the environmental dimension, we create, we produce economic wealth. And let's be very honest, that is also part of a large understanding of what security means. We Europeans know that security also means the creation of wealth and the share of prosperity if we want to keep our democracies alive and kicking and getting deeper and deeper in terms of providing opportunities for everybody. So our success will depend on making this transition an opportunity for modernizing the industry, the business community, the economy, and to reduce the inequality gaps, to ensure that we retain young talent, to facilitate the skills, the opportunities for everybody, to ensure that this brings also good opportunities for our macroeconomic figures, for our health budget, for the quality of life in our cities, for the innovation at the smaller scale, bigger scale. This means building different frameworks and identifying where the add value of our communities may be, anticipating the skills that will be required, ensuring that the education and training process take place, ensuring that the services, the trade, the industry, the consideration of the environmental concerns are part of this conversation. We have proposed a clean industrial deal to ensure that the business case for decarbonization and modernization of energy systems is there, to ensure that we are smart when using the raw materials, to ensure that we build on healthy relationships with third countries, with other partners, to ensure that we reduce our vulnerabilities and weakness because of the high reliance of very few players from outside, to ensure that we keep on building and diving in the single market, in our own strengths as a continent, where everybody is expected to contribute, everybody is expected to benefit. And of course, this is also the case for Bulgaria. This means opportunities in many different aspects. Solar corridors from the Black Sea, battery hubs in Stara Zagora, green corridors to Turkey. Not hands out, but hands up, built on skills, on science, on solidarity, on joining and feeling we all are part of the same union. And it makes economic sense. That's how I have felt and experienced in my own country, in my own continent, in the continent that we share, in the union that we share. It saves billions. It has already saved billions. Billions that we can dedicate to keep on building that future that depends of our own capacities, that it is in our hands. So let's forget about just feeling that there are lots of reasons why we may complain. Let's try to identify how we can provide answers, questions, to keep on building those solutions, to keep on building that future. So if we use our own resources in better efficiency, smart infrastructures, we will be improving our strengths and retaining talent. We will be investing in innovation. We as Europeans will be investing on our people, on our science, on our research. We will be taking into account the knowledge, the facts, the data, instead of trusting things that are not real, fake propaganda, or deleting the words that may be challenging. Do you think that deleting the words climate change, gender balance, women could solve any problem? Of course not. Of course not. At the very same time, we know that we have a very great asset because we are an union, so we may build on our complementarities and we may help to spread this wealth all over Europe, reducing cost, facilitating the circulation, the capacity to ensure that services, business, but also reducing the red tape that in certain occasions makes our life much more difficult. So deepening in our common single market will save money for all Europeans. Building Europe beyond a market, as Enrico Letta was saying, trying to identify how we can build the trust, the confidence on our own economy, so to make full use of our savings to invest in a better Europe, is part of the mandate at the Commission level in this cycle. This decade is going to be critical, and we need to decide whether we want to deepen into the European dream, or we turn back and come back to a past where there may be certain capacities to more or less coordinate certain goals, but borders will come up again. Difficulties, burdens, and costs will rise again. And the capacity to play the role that I'm convinced we need to play in this crazy world of today, to remain united, to face the challenges of the geopolitics and world challenges, could diminish. So, thinking about the green transition, do never think that it is only regulation or burdens. On the contrary, it is building the future that is in our hands. It is about dignity, hope, and responsibility. It's about creating opportunities. We are not going to compete if we go towards a race down in terms of lowering the standards for social concerns and labor, or pushing forward the cost of destroying our environment. On the contrary, it could mean more burdens for the next generations. In this moment of uncertainty, the best place to be, but also the huge responsibility we have, is feel that as Europeans, the future of our societies is in our hands, and the possibility to contribute to a much more peaceful and brighter future for the rest of the world is also in our hands. I count on you, we count on you, as I said, I feel myself a proud European benefiting from the European dream, and I would like to stress that I would love to be part of building together with you the European dream in Bulgaria. Thanks a lot.